I started off fairly nervous because it was my really first time to tutor a team to travel outside the country for a moot court competition. It was actually also my first time to tutor them to compete as lawyers. And so it was such an experience because we started off really like groping in the dark, and at the end of it all we were really happy with the output that we were able to achieve. We started by inviting students who would be interested in the moot court competition to come for essentially mock trials on the problem. This year we had over 20, around 25, 26 students who each has to come and appear before a panel of tutors or lecturers like myself. And luckily for this year, we had the two students who had appeared the previous year. So they actually constituted our panel because they knew the standards that were required and the level of commitment that was there. So once we did the selection process, sieved through the 20-something students and were able to rank them from the first to the top 10 really, and then sieved through the team as well to see those ones with the desire and the commitment that is needed to engage in this exercise. I literally told the students that they would have to give it their all if they wanted to make a contribution. We met twice a week at the beginning of the week to assign them what materials to read and the feedback of what they had read from the previous week. And then the other one was at the end of the week. On Fridays in the morning we would always meet to try and see if they were having challenges and problems and issues that they were not able to understand about the problem. So it was a lot of commitment on the part of the students to do the readings outside, and also part of on me as well. They were able to build their confidence in arguing and in presenting arguments. They were able to identify the signals when the listeners or the judges were not getting their points across, and it's really enhanced their litigation skills. One of them actually got hired as a litigation advocate even before he graduated from school this year. I gave the problem to the students first, and I expect them within a week to present to me a draft argument sort of on what the key issues they themselves had identified from the problem. From there on, then I would look through, I would guide them through the arguments and tell them that this one would present logical challenges and that others would be a lot easier to present, or a little bit more convincing. Actually, the biggest pitfall is reading extensively without centering or focusing on what the problem is all about. And that's a very thin line, because you have to read extensively also to understand the contours of the law, but also not to deviate away from the facts. And sometimes freedom of expression presents some really interesting, germane issues that can easily divert away from what the problem was. But getting the materials and reading them, and the time commitment, really being on track, are some of the key challenges. We started with looking at the issues that arise in freedom of expression in fundamental rights and freedoms. We do not have, as an institution, we do not have a specific unit on media law or media law and communication. So our entry point was actually on constitutional law, more specifically fundamental rights and freedoms, and to one of the specific subject areas, which was freedom of expression. And the beginning point was to identify at least the key issues or the key materials that the students would have to have as the core texts, and these were obviously the UN major documents. For our institution, because we do not have a specific focus again on media law and communication, we looked at the materials from the freedom of expression. And again, in Africa, or at least in Kenya, Eldoret, right in the middle of the country, Much of the material we had were actually internet-based materials. So on the one hand, I had to do the searches, computer searches personally, and direct the students to the appropriate websites or to the appropriate institutions that they could obtain those materials and read them as well. It was very useful because the level of technological developments that are advancing in Kenya presents almost the key challenges that the problem was presenting. So on the one hand, we had the fundamental rights issue. On the other hand, we lived in a contemporary society where only barely 5 years ago, the same, if not similar, political and social indicators or the social problems that were presented in some of the problem was actually something that the students lived with. So they were able to relate to those problems without even having to explain it to them. The beauty of this competition is that on the first day, or literally on the second day, the students are given memorials of the other teams, and that is really the first point of reality check. The reality check that yes, there are others who have also done their research extensively, and that the level of the competition is very high. But what I told the students, or what was very important with them, was that to build their confidence in them, that they have done their best and they should present their best. And that is what carried them through. The Faculty of Law, Oxford University, has a tremendous history in scholarship of legal matters. And honestly, it was my first time to travel to the United Kingdom and to the home of basically English law, the home of English jurisprudence. And so it's one of those experiences that for a lecturer, for a tutor, and for the students really amounts to a one-in-a-lifetime experience. Visiting this city, beautiful city, the medieval buildings and so beautifully kept, is it's a very beautiful city. So being here and being able to coordinate and network with some of the best professionals in legal matters is a huge bonus.